Hey folks, John with Alternate Arms, your friend in less than lethal self-defense. You guys like surprises? Because I got one for you. Here we go. All right, so first thing I want to do is I want to correct a mistake I made. Now, if you guys will remember in the last video, I told you that somebody unbeknownst to me had sent us in this LTL Charlie right here, and I had no idea who it was. Well, there's an irony to this whole thing, and let me tell you a little bit about it. One of the viewers out there had sent this launcher in to me to repair. Apparently he had gotten it in Italy and had brought it over or something along those lines, and it was defective out of the box. So this actually presents a couple of really cool things for us guys. Number one, I had no idea what I was getting into when I cracked this thing open to try to repair it. And number two, what I found inside ain't what you think. Let's just say that, all right? So, without further ado, let's take a look at our LTL Charlie 1.5. First time we've seen this. Now guys, when I told you in that last video that it's heavy, and I'm going to compare it here in just a second to give you an idea what that looks like. But let me move Stumpy over here and let's get a good view of what this looks like. Check it out. The LTL Charlie 1.5. And guys, excuse the condition of the box. This was obviously his personal one. So I didn't do it. So I want to hear it. All right. So as you can see, you get an instruction manual, which by the way, guys, this is actually a pretty good manual and it's in 4 languages, which is pretty cool. As well as a cleaning squeegee. I cannot imagine why you would need, but there it is. Now, this is where this gets neat, guys. This is the LTL Charlie. Now, on this, it's a little bit different than any other launcher we have. This does load in from the front, a lot like the Salt Supplies or the MUB-50. But the difference is, after it's loaded in and locked in place, you can see it actually protrudes out a tiny bit into the front of the launcher. Now, this is really cool. The magazines on this, guys, these are solid aluminum. They are not plastic. And I mean solid. Hear that? That is metal. Listen to this. Metal. Which means that the entire top of this launcher and both of the magazines, that I don't know if they came with 2 or not. I'm not clear. Hopefully he'll jump in the chat here and tell us. But they are solid metal, which is really, really cool. The build quality on this is quite astounding. So going around this launcher, as you can see, it's got the same kind of twist to puncture. You put it in, you pop it, exactly like on the LTL Bravo and on the LTL Alpha. And you guys remember, we have done videos on both of these. I'll throw some links up here for you. Now, a couple things that are a little different. The magazine release is actually dual. It's ambidextrous on both sides. When you pull this down, it releases the magazine. Magazine then comes out right there. Okay, just like that. Now that follower, you see how that extended? So when you load this, the follower locks that into place like that. When it's out of rounds, it does that little extension and pops out on the end. Pretty cool, actually. So when you put it in, you can actually hear it. Listen closely. Hear that lock into place? Very, very solid. All right. It's got a trigger safety here, as you can see. And this is an all metal top. I mean, it's, once again, everything you see on the top of this launcher is metal. Everything down here, plastic, okay? Now, here's where this gets funky. And the looks. I love the looks of this launcher. I really do. And as I said, it's heavy. And I want to show you, I want to give you an idea of the difference here. And we will use apples to apples here. So we're going to compare it with the other LTL launchers. So, this is the LTL Alpha, okay? And I'm going to do this in order so you guys, yes, by the way, this is my pumpkin spice Alpha. You guys have seen me put this on videos before. I call it pumpkin spice because it's awesome orange. But turn this on here. We're zeroed out. Let me see if I got Stumpy pointed here so you guys can see this too. Right there. Okay, so the LTL Alpha weighs in at 1 pound, 6 ounces. All right? 1 pound, 6 ounces on the Alpha. That is a very light launcher. Now, let's go to the LTL Bravo, which I think is probably going to be as close as you can probably get to that launcher, because it's also a very heavy launcher. You guys have seen the LTL Bravo, all right? By the way, YouTube, I know you know this. These aren't firearms, so yeah, they're not firearms. Anyway, LTL Bravo, so you can see that. Let's put it on here. That weighs in at 2 pounds, 7 ounces, okay? Everybody got that? So, 1/6, 2 pounds, 7 ounces, so it's a pound heavier. This weighs in at 2 pounds, 10 ounces. So, 2 pounds 7, 2 pounds 10. This is a much heavier launcher. Now, take a look at them side by side, guys. This is the Bravo, this is the Charlie. They are very similar as far as the physical size goes, except you can see the extension of that barrel, how much longer that is. That, I predict, is why we're going to get a little bit of a power boost out of it, because you've heard these are firing. Well, I heard what they said, but we're going to try it and see. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. Before we go out here and we get into the chrono readings and we get into the FPS ratings and the joule ratings and all of that cool stuff and destroy another Scully, which, by the way, we're going to do. Something about this. I pulled this launcher apart in order to repair it, okay? And what I found, I put pictures in the community section, all right? When we're done doing our shooting, I want to show you a video that I shot about the internals of this launcher, and I think you're going to be a little bit surprised. I really do, because I really was. Yeah. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're just going to use a light round, guys, because frankly it doesn't matter. So we're going to use the regular generic Humorex practice rounds they have. They're very, very light. I mean, very light. So these are weighing in, I believe, and let's see. It doesn't matter how much the round weighs for this test, guys, because honestly, we're going to be able to get a joule rating no matter how heavy the round is, because it will automatically adjust based on velocity. So we'll find out. But all right, let's clear this one out. And I believe these are going to weigh in at, clear that, 1.13 grams, okay? 1.13 grams. They're very light rounds. And that's what we're going to use to actually test this particular launcher, all right? So, in order to load this, and this is actually one thing I do want to show you because it's actually pretty cool. So, this drops down, pull this down, magazine comes out. See how that follower extended again? Now, you want to do this right, guys, because if you don't, it will throw rounds everywhere, trust me. On the side here, you've got a little, like a little ridge. See that ridge? You grab that ridge, you pull it down, all the way down. Then, you feed the rounds in from the top. Now, if you look in the top, you've got what looks like, I'm going to try to point this out on Stumpy here. You got what looks like a little metal clip right here. That little metal clip is actually what holds the rounds in place. So, slide in the round, hold that down, and in it goes. All right, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It will hold 5 rounds. There we go. Once that is in there, you can let go of it. It won't pop back up again. All right. Now, once you insert this into the weapon, it hits right here, and that little spring right there is what actually fires one of these up into the detents. Oh, yeah. And we'll talk about the detents in just a little bit. All right. So, CO2 cartridge, pull this down, unscrew the bottom. CO2 cartridge goes into the bottom. Same strike to pierce like we always do. So here we go, guys. I'm going to move out here on the range, and we're going to take a couple shots. Here we go. All right, guys. So CO2 cartridge, bottom of the launcher. This is threaded. Screw it in a tiny bit. Now, when you get to a certain point like that, you're going to have to lift up on this bottom section in order to continue tightening it. And you want to secure it until it's all the way down, okay? Just like that. Then you can lift it up a tiny bit and put this back into place. See how that fits in that groove? You want to make sure that you're in that groove, guys. Otherwise, when you strike it, you're not going to get a good puncture. Now, next thing we're going to do, take our fully loaded magazine. As you guys can see, we've got 5 rounds in there. All right. We're going to insert it from the front of the launcher, and you'll hear the click. All right. That is now engaged. Now, as you guys can see, I'm going to move you up here a tiny bit. We've actually got the chronograph right now zeroed out and set. We don't really care about hitting Scully on the first few shots, guys. All we really care about is what we're seeing for FPS on this thing. And then I will, as per normal, we're going to put the FPS readings up post-production so you can see them as we're firing it, okay? So, here we go. We're going to charge the launcher. As you can see, the pen fired out. And let's see what we get out of this. 481, 487, error. I knew that. I was going to say, yeah, no way. 478, 466, and we're dry. All right, we're gonna go ahead and clear out the CO2 because we want to do one more thing. So those are like not really counted as shots right there, guys. I would say, based on what I was hearing, that you're gonna get an average of maybe 2 magazines out of each one of the CO2s, but we wanted to do this fairly, okay? So you saw that. We're in that 480 feet per second range, and I will put the joule rating translations on each one of those screens so you can see what it looks like. All right, guys, so let's talk a little bit about the old LTL Charlie here, shall we? Now, there's a couple of things about this that are very, very interesting, all right? I suspect that the increase in power that we're seeing, and there is an increase in power over the Bravo and over the Alpha, obviously, that has a lot to do with that extended barrel. And that unique loading system on these magazines is actually pretty cool too, coming in from the front like that. I will tell you, it prefers a more solid ammo. So I did a lot of testing after the fact and off the channel, or off the video, and it does seem to like pepper balls. It loves them. They're smooth as glass. But the rubber steel, smooth as glass also. It doesn't like a gummy rubber round. In fact, it'll cause that to occasionally jam up, so you don't want that. So once you get one, aluminum, pepper balls, plastic or PVC or polypropylate, whatever you got, or obviously you can go with any of the practice pepper balls. Those will work as well. So, but now, what did I discover on the inside of this when I was taking it apart? Check this out. All right, guys, you'll have to excuse the funky audio on this, but I did this one part and I had to show it to you. It was a separate part of the video that's going to be dropping. So this is the LTL Charlie right here, okay? A couple of the very interesting things about this is, if you'll notice, I had compared an HDP 50 valve to the Charlie, and they are virtually identical with the exception of a tiny bit of length right here. So what I'm going to do is crack this open. I'm going to show you guys something. I hope you're prepared to see this because it blew my mind. But I want everybody here to see this together so you guys can verify what I am seeing. Here we go. All right, so we're cracking the valve body open now. Make sure all of our screws are nice and loose, and we're going nice and slow, guys, just like always. All right, so look here. I'm going to raise this up to the camera, guys. Does that design look familiar to anybody in the world except for, oh, I don't know, all of us? That is an HDP 50, right down from the bolt advance, the bolt itself, the spring, everything here is an HDP 50. It's a very, very interesting how they did this. Now, you'll notice also there's a black line across the top there. Anybody remember what that signifies? One of the Gen 2 valves. Very, very interesting. So this led me to the next question, which is, if this is an HDP 50 valve Gen 2, which it is, if you look in here in the bottom, you can see the CO2 retainer. See that, or the CO2 restrictor? That's the factory CO2 restrictor from a Gen 2. It has me wondering if behind that valve cap, there's a valve block. And if there is, that means this is upgradable in the exact same way that the HDP 50 is. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to pull this valve off, or this open here. And let's look together, guys. I have not done this. I want you to see it with me, and let's see what we find. You guys ready? Ah, the suspense is killing me. Clear block. See how it's wide open in there? That is why these fire as hard as they do natively. If you pulled out that restrictor right there, you would get even more power out of this right off the bat. That's pretty cool. But, wonder what they built it on. What do you think? Yes, what you just saw is correct. The problem with this launcher when he sent it in was that the detent was dried out. So what was happening is it was just spinning in there. So the barrel was just spinning freely and it wasn't holding the round properly. That detent is identical to an HDP 50. And I don't mean hypothetical or it looks like it. I pulled the detent out of my spares for HDP 50s and fixed that launcher. It is an HDP 50. Now, here, let me get a little deeper for you. Let me really blow your mind. As you can see, the valves are structured exactly the same. They look identical. The internals are the same. The bolt catch is the same. The advance, the trigger spring, everything is the same. Now, you would think on this little drop down here, in order to release the magazine, right? It's got two small springs that poke up, and that's what actually affects that drop down. when I was taking this apart, I didn't realize those springs were there, and it came flying apart, and one of the springs went into the ether, okay? And I'm thinking, great, where am I going to find another one of these little tiny springs? It's an HDR cylinder advanced spring. That's all it is. So I went to an HDR, pulled it out. It's the identical spring. This is an amalgamation of a lot of different launchers. Now, I suspect, and you've heard this said before, that a lot of these launchers, a lot of these companies it's a very integrated business, we'll say it that way, which means that everybody makes everybody else's and they're all the same. That being said, that's going to make upgrading this pretty easy. As you saw, clear chamber, which is why you're firing into that higher range right off the bat. It does have a CO2 restrictor in the handle, which I do suspect you could remove in order to gain even more power out of it. And HPA tapping would be something as easy as drilling out this aluminum back here. So this launcher has potential. I have no idea when they're going to come into the U.S. My Chiappa rep has been telling me over and over and over, we'll send you one when we get them, we get them when we get them, when we get them, and they keep stalling it, saying that the border is not allowing them to import them. A little bit annoying. It really is. But it's a great launcher. It's very heavy. I mean, it is very heavy. Now, when he sent his in, guys, I want to show you this too. He was missing his little orange, one of the little orange sights there. I'm sorry to tell him, I didn't have any more. I thought I had some that I could pull off of one of the TR50s, but it was brittle and it just snapped. So you're going to have to get your own. Sorry about that. Guys, this is awesome. I now know how to break this thing down. And you just got a sneak peek of what it looks like internally, and nobody has seen that yet. Nobody. You guys did. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. FYI, this video should be dropping on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and let it out early. I'm going to be out of town until the 3rd of March, so 2 full weeks. But I will be doing some shorts. I am going to Modern Combat Sports in LA, and I will talk to them down there and hopefully get some video up with them too. So it's going to be an eventful week. It really is. Guys, have a fantastic week. If you're anywhere cold, stay warm. If you're anywhere warm, stay cool. And take care of each other. Bye-bye.